11 people in the Bible who prayed. 67 faithful conversations with the divine. Praying, prayers, classes. In today's fast-paced world, people often seek solace and guidance in prayer. People in the Bible who prayed serve as shining examples of faith, determination, and unwavering belief in the power of prayer. This article delves into the lives of these individuals, their prayers, and the impact they had on the world around them. Let's take a journey through the pages of the Bible and learn from these inspiring figures. Abraham, the father of nations, prayed. Abraham is considered the father of three major world religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He prayed fervently to God for a child, and in his old age, he was blessed with a son, Isaac. Through his prayers and unwavering faith, he established a covenant with God and became the father of many nations. Bible reference summary of Abraham's prayer context: Genesis 12:7-8. Abraham builds an altar and calls on the name of the Lord. After God promises to give Abraham and his descendants the land of Canaan, he builds an altar and worships God. Genesis 13:3-4. Abraham returns to the altar at Bethel and calls on the name of the Lord. Abraham prays to God after returning from Egypt during a famine. This altar at Bethel is where he first called upon God when he arrived in Canaan. Genesis 15:2-3. Abraham asks God about the fulfillment of his promise regarding an heir. Abraham prays for an heir, since he and his wife Sarah are childless, and the only heir to his house is his servant Eliezer. Genesis 15:8. Abraham seeks assurance from God regarding his promise of the land of Canaan. Abraham asks God how he can know that he will possess the land as God had promised. Genesis 17:18. Abraham pleads for Ishmael, his son by Hagar, to live under God's blessing. Abraham shows concern for Ishmael after God establishes his covenant with Isaac. Genesis 18:23-32. Abraham intercedes for Sodom. Abraham pleads with God not to destroy Sodom if there are righteous people living there, negotiating down to a minimum of 10 righteous people to spare the city. Genesis 27:17. Abraham prays for Abimelech and his household. After Abraham deceitfully introduces Sarah as his sister, God warns Abimelech in a dream. Abraham then prays for God to heal Abimelech and his household, who were suffering because of this deception. Genesis 21:33. Abraham plants a tree, calls on the name of the Lord, and praises God for his everlasting nature. After making a treaty with Abimelech, Abraham worships God, acknowledging his eternal nature. Genesis 22:7-8. Abraham expresses faith that God will provide the lamb for the burnt offering. On the way to Mount Moriah, where God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, Abraham affirms his faith in God's provision. Genesis 24:12-14. Abraham's servant prays to God for guidance in finding a wife for Isaac. Though not a direct prayer of Abraham, this is a prayer related to Abraham's household and God's promise to him. Please note that the Bible does not always provide a verbatim account of each prayer. In some instances, the prayers are implied from the actions and context provided in the scripture. Abraham's prayer for Sodom and Gomorrah, praying, when God revealed his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah due to their wickedness, Abraham interceded on behalf of the cities, asking God to spare them if righteous people could be found there. This event highlights Abraham's compassionate nature and the power of intercessory prayer. Moses, the reluctant leader, prays. Moses, a Hebrew raised in Egypt, was chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of slavery. Despite his initial reluctance, Moses became a powerful leader who frequently prayed for the people he led. Bible reference summary of Moses' prayer context: Exodus 5:22-23. Moses questions God about why he has brought trouble on the people of Israel. Moses questions God after Pharaoh increases the Israelites' workload in response to Moses' request to let them worship their God in the wilderness. Exodus 8:8-10. Moses prays to God to remove the plague of frogs. Pharaoh asks Moses to pray to God to take away the frogs, and Moses does so. Exodus 8:28-30. Moses prays to God to remove the plague of flies. Again, Pharaoh asks Moses to remove a plague, and Moses prays for it. Exodus 9:27-29. Moses prays to stop the thunder and hail. Pharaoh admits he has sinned and asks Moses to pray for the end of the plague. Exodus 10:16-18. Moses prays to remove the plague of locusts. Pharaoh admits his sin and asks Moses to pray for the removal of this plague. Exodus 14:15-16. Moses calls out to God at the Red Sea. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.